Adrian Hale ended our engagement in front of 37 people, 2 champagne towers, and the woman he had chosen over me. He called it a mature decision, his mother called it mercy, and Celeste Wren lowered her eyes as if she had not spent months carving my place out of his life. I sat at the head table with my Hopkins acceptance email unread on my phone, a pregnancy test in my purse, and my thumb quietly pressing record. I do not want a scene, Elena, Adrian said. That was his first mistake, he thought. Silence meant surrender. I took off my ring, placed it beside the untouched cake and said, "Then you will not get one." The private dining room at the Hale Club smelled like white roses, seared scallops, and expensive lies. Everything had been arranged with the cold perfection Adrian's mother loved. Crystal glasses aligned by height, linen napkins folded like swans, a white cake in the corner with our initials written in gold, a violinist near the window playing something soft enough to make cruelty sound elegant. I had arrived with 2 secrets. One was in my phone. "Congratulations, Dr. Elena Voss. We are pleased to offer you a position in the Surgical Oncology Fellowship Program at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine." The other was folded inside a small pharmacy bag in my purse, 2 pink lines, then a blood test, then the ultrasound appointment I had made that morning. Pregnant, not just pregnant according to the first scan, twins. I had planned to tell Adrian after dessert. I had imagined his face changing from tired to stunned, then maybe tender. I had spent the taxi ride pressing my palm against my lower stomach, telling myself that even if our relationship had been strained, this would bring us back to the truth of what we had once promised each other. 6 years together, 2 years engaged, 1 house we were supposed to move into after the wedding, a life I had helped him build while pretending I did not notice how often I was being asked to shrink. But when I walked into the room, Adrian did not stand. Celeste Wren sat beside him. She wore pale blue silk and a fragile expression. Her hair was pinned loosely, as if she had not tried too hard, though Celeste never did anything by accident. Adrian's hand rested near her chair, not touching, close enough for everyone to understand. His mother, Marjorie Hale, looked me over from head to toe. "You are late," she said. "4 minutes," I replied. A bride should learn grace before marriage. I looked at Adrian, he looked away. That was when the first small crack opened in my chest. Dinner began. People smiled too brightly. Adrian's aunt asked whether I had chosen the final floral arrangement. His cousin joked that Adrian had looked nervous all week. Celeste lowered her gaze every time someone mentioned the wedding, then gave a tiny, wounded smile that made Marjorie pat her hand. I noticed all of it. I had been trained to notice changes in breathing, skin tone, pulse rhythm, pain hidden under politeness. A dinner table was not so different from an operating room. People bled in different ways. Halfway through the second course, Adrian stood. A fork touched porcelain somewhere to my left. "Elena," he said, his voice steady and rehearsed, "I think we both know this has not been working." The room went still. I did not move. Adrian adjusted his cuff links, a nervous habit, one I used to find endearing. "I care about you," he continued, "but care is not enough for a marriage. We have become 2 people chasing different lives. You are ambitious, detached, always running toward the next hospital, the next surgery, the next achievement." Marjorie sighed as if his words hurt her too. Celeste whispered, "Adrian, maybe this is not the time." But she did not stand, she did not leave, she did not ask him to stop. Adrian looked at her, and his face softened in a way I had not seen in months. "That is exactly why this must be said now," he said. There it was, the specific betrayal, not a distance, not a misunderstanding, a choice. My hand moved under the table. I unlocked my phone by touch and opened the voice recorder. I placed it face down beside my plate. Adrian saw the movement but misunderstood it. "I know this is difficult," he said gently, almost kindly, which made it worse, "but I cannot marry someone I no longer recognize." His mother leaned forward. "You should be grateful he is saying this before the wedding," Marjorie added. "Many women would have dragged this family into a marriage for the name alone." My ears rang. For the name alone. I thought of the nights I had stayed awake revising Adrian's grant proposals because he hated writing. The months I had delayed accepting interviews because his father had been ill and Adrian needed me at board dinners. The money I had quietly moved from my savings to keep the renovation on our future house from stalling when Adrian's investment account froze during a dispute. For the name alone. Celeste's eyes glistened. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," she said. No one asked why she was sitting beside my fiancé while he ended our engagement. Adrian took a breath. Celeste has been through a great deal this year. She needs stability. I cannot keep pretending I do not know where my heart is. A small sound moved through the room, not shock, recognition. Some of them had known, some of them had been waiting for this performance. I looked at the cake again. A&E, Adrian, and Elena, a ridiculous gold lie, he continued speaking, but I heard him now as evidence. I will cover any cancellation fees. Evidence, you can stay in the house for 2 weeks until you make arrangements. Evidence, I do not want this to become bitter. Evidence, please do not make me the villain because I am being honest. That was when I smiled, not because it was funny, because my body had finally understood what my heart had resisted for months. He was not breaking me, he was releasing me. I lifted my phone, stopped the recording and saved it. Adrian frowned. What are you doing? Remembering, I said. Marjorie's mouth tightened. Do not be dramatic. I reached for my left hand. The ring was beautiful, oval diamond, platinum band, designed by Adrian's grandmother, offered with a speech about legacy and responsibility. It had felt heavy from the day he put it on me. I slid it off. For the first time in 2 years, my finger felt like mine. I placed the ring beside the cake fork. The sound it made was tiny, still everyone heard it. I accept your decision, I said. Adrian blinked. He had expected tears, questions, maybe a plea. He had prepared for a woman who would beg him to remember who we used to be. He had not prepared for a woman who agreed. Celeste's face shifted first, Marjorie's second, Adrian's last. Elena, he said softer now, you do not have to act cold. I am not acting. I picked up my purse, the pregnancy test inside pressed against my palm through the leather. For one dangerous second I almost told him, I almost said, I came here to tell you I was accepted by Hopkins. I almost said, I came here to tell you I am carrying your children. Then Celeste reached for Adrian's sleeve and he let her. That answered every question I had left. I stood. Have your lawyer send whatever paperwork you think is necessary. I said, send it to my email, not my apartment, not my hospital, not through friends. Adrian's jaw tightened. This does not have to be hostile. No, I said, it just has to be final. His cousin murmured my name, but I was already walking. Behind me, Marjorie said, let her go. Pride is all women like that have. I stopped at the door. For the first time that night I turned back. Every face in that room froze. Adrian looked tired. Celeste looked nervous. Marjorie looked victorious. I looked at the people who had watched me be humiliated and waited for me to collapse. Then I said, you should be careful with public cruelty, it has witnesses. No one answered. I left before dessert. Outside, the city air was cold enough to sting. I stood under the awning while the valet brought my car. My hands did not shake until I was alone behind the wheel. Then they shook hard. I opened my purse and pulled out the pregnancy test. 2 lines. I pressed it to my chest and let out one silent breath that hurt more than crying. My phone lit up. Adrian, I hope you understand someday. I never meant to hurt you. Another message followed. Adrian, please do not make this harder than it needs to be. I looked at the Hopkins email, then at the pregnancy test, then at the glowing windows of the Hale Club where they were probably rewriting the story already. Poor Adrian, cold Elena, sweet Celeste, necessary heartbreak. I placed my hand over my stomach. No, I whispered, not to the children, not to myself, to him. Then I drove away. The house Adrian and I were supposed to live in had never felt like home. It was too large, too polished, too full of Marjorie's opinions. She had chosen the kitchen marble because mine was too practical. She had changed the nursery-sized guest room into a cigar lounge for Adrian's father because children could wait. She had once stood in the master bedroom and told me a Hale wife needed to understand that a house was not owned by the woman who slept in it at the time. I had laughed politely. That night I packed in silence 2 suitcases, 1 box of medical books, 1 folder of documents. I left the wedding binder on the kitchen counter, tastings, contracts, floral sketches, venue deposits, my name written beside his 100 times. I did not tear it apart. I did not throw anything. Destruction was emotional and I had work to do. I opened my laptop and downloaded 6 years of financial records from our shared planning account. Transfers I had made, vendor deposits from my savings, renovation costs I had covered when Adrian's temporary liquidity issue became a 3-month problem, emails from Marjorie asking me to pay quietly so Adrian would not feel embarrassed. I saved everything to an encrypted drive, then I forwarded copies to a new email account Adrian did not know existed. At 1:13 a.m. my phone rang. Adrian. I watched his name until it stopped. It rang again, then a message appeared. Adrian, you embarrassed my mother by Leaving like that, I stared at it. Not, "Are you safe?" Not, "I am sorry." Not, "We should talk. You embarrassed my mother." I took a screenshot. Another message came. "Adrian, I know you are angry, but refusing to answer is childish." Screenshot. "Adrian, Celeste is crying. She feels responsible. Please do not punish her for my decision." Screenshot. The strange thing about heartbreak is that it often arrives with paperwork. The body wants to collapse, but the world keeps asking for signatures, passwords, addresses, keys. By morning, I had changed my banking passwords, removed Adrian from my emergency contacts, and booked an appointment with Nora Ellis, a lawyer Maya had recommended after watching too many hospital marriages end badly. Nora's office was above a bakery and smelled like coffee and printer ink. She was small, sharp-eyed, and unimpressed by wealthy men. I placed the engagement ring, the dinner recording, the screenshots, the financial records, the Hopkins email, and the pregnancy confirmation on her desk. Her expression changed only once when she saw the ultrasound appointment. "Is he aware?" she asked. "No." "Do you intend to tell him?" I looked at the ring. "I intended to tell my fiancé," I said. "That person does not exist anymore." Nora leaned back. "Elena, legally that does not erase biology." "I know." "Then we prepare, we do not react." That sentence became a line I held onto for the next 3 years. We prepare, we do not react. Nora listened to the dinner recording with headphones. Her face stayed calm, but when Marjorie's voice said, "Many women would have dragged this family into a marriage for the name alone," Nora paused the audio and removed one earbud. "Charming family. They believe they are. Even worse, she created a file, Hail Matter. She advised me not to contact Adrian directly. She told me not to hide assets, not to threaten, not to use the pregnancy as leverage. She also told me I was under no obligation to share medical news with a man who had just ended the relationship and was actively creating a written record of wanting separation. Let him define the distance." Nora said. "If he wants no contact, let him sign it." 2 days later, Adrian did exactly that. His lawyer sent a separation and property release agreement. It was not necessary because we were not married, but Adrian liked documents that made him feel civilized. The language was cold and broad. No shared obligations going forward, no claim to future earnings, no personal contact except through counsel, mutual release from wedding-related expectations. Nora laughed once when she read it. "He thinks this protects him. Does it? It protects you better." I signed after revisions. Adrian signed faster. I imagined him doing it at his desk, relieved that I was not begging, irritated that I had involved a lawyer. Certain the story was over. That same afternoon, Celeste posted a photo, a teacup beside a vase of white roses. Caption: "Sometimes peace comes after painful honesty." I stared at it for 5 seconds, then blocked her. My body did not give me the luxury of pretending. Morning sickness arrived like punishment. I threw up before rounds, after rounds, between patient consults. I learned which hospital bathrooms were cleanest. I kept crackers in every coat pocket. Maya found me sitting on the floor of the staff locker room with my forehead against a metal door. "You are either dying or pregnant," she said. I opened one eye. She sat beside me. "Is it his?" I nodded. Maya closed her eyes. "I am going to kill him." "No," lightly, "no." She leaned her head against the locker beside mine. "Does he know?" "No." "Are you going to tell him?" I thought of his message, "Celeste is crying." I thought of his signature on the no-contact agreement. I thought of the way his hand had stayed near her chair. "Not now," I said. Maya did not argue. That was why she was my friend. Instead, she said, "Then we make a plan." There it was again. We prepare, we do not react. The Hopkins start date came faster than grief faded. I informed my current program director. I arranged housing in Baltimore. I found an obstetrician who specialized in high-risk pregnancies. I spoke with Nora about custody documentation, and what would happen if Adrian learned later and tried to accuse me of concealment. "Keep everything," she said. "Medical records, messages, his no-contact agreement, your attempts to maintain legal channels. Do not speak through friends. Do not let his family create a private narrative." So I kept everything. I kept the voicemail where Marjorie said, "It would be best if you did not attend any events for a while. People are uncomfortable." I kept Adrian's email saying, "I think distance is healthiest. Please respect my boundaries as I build a future that feels honest." I kept the text from Celeste sent from an unknown number. "I hope someday you find someone who does not make you feel second." I did not respond. 3 weeks after the dinner, I drove to Baltimore with 2 suitcases, 1 box of books, and 2 heartbeats inside me. Halfway there, at a rest stop off I-95, I sat in the driver's seat and opened the ultrasound image. 2 small shapes, 2 impossible beginnings. I touched the screen. I am sorry, I whispered, then I corrected myself. No, I am not sorry, you exist. A woman parked beside me was arguing with someone on speakerphone. A truck hissed at the gas pump. Somewhere a child laughed. Life was rude that way. It kept going. I started the car. Behind me was a man who thought he had ended my story. Ahead of me was a city that did not know my name yet. Baltimore did not care that my engagement had ended. That was its first kindness. The city did not ask why I flinched when my phone rang. It did not ask why I avoided restaurants with white roses. It did not ask why I sometimes sat in my parked car after a 14-hour shift with both hands on my stomach, breathing through fear. Hopkins asked only one thing: could I do the work? So I did. I learned new hallways, new attendings, new operating rooms, new ways to be exhausted. I stood beside Dr. Miriam Klein, one of the most respected surgical oncologists in the country, and watched her remove tumors other surgeons called impossible. She was in her 60s, silver-haired, steady-handed, and allergic to self-pity. On my second week, she caught me swallowing nausea behind a supply cabinet. Flu? She asked. Pregnancy? Her eyebrows rose once. Complicated? Twins? Father involved? No. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Then your calendar will be brutal, not impossible. That was Dr. Klein's version of tenderness. She did not soften the world for me, she helped me survive it. Pregnancy made everything harder. My back hurt before it had any right to. My feet swelled inside surgical clogs. I learned to vomit quietly, rinse my mouth, and return to tumor boards with a clear voice at night. I read case studies with one hand on my belly during lectures. The twins kicked under the table as if they were arguing with the speaker. Maya visited twice a month and stocked my freezer with soup. Nora sent scanned copies of every document she organized. My mother, who lived in Oregon and had never trusted Adrian's polished manners, flew in during my second trimester and stayed for 3 weeks. She did not say, "I told you so." She said, "Where do you keep the extra towels?" That was love. Adrian's life came to me in fragments I never asked for. A society photo of him and Celeste at a foundation gala. A rumor that Marjorie had introduced Celeste as the woman who brought warmth back to my son. A forwarded article about the Hale Medical Trust expanding its donor network. Then 6 months after I left, a wedding announcement: Adrian Hale and Celeste Wren to celebrate intimate engagement. He had not married her, not yet, but he had placed her where I once stood. The article described Celeste as compassionate, elegant, and deeply committed to medical philanthropy. It described Adrian as visionary. It did not mention the woman who had edited his first grant proposal at 2 in the morning. It did not mention the woman who had paid the final deposit on the house he now let Celeste host brunches in. It did not mention the children turning inside that woman's body while she sat in an on-call room eating crackers. I closed the article and went back to work. The twins were born early during a thunderstorm. Of course they were. Nothing about them had been convenient from the beginning. I was 32 weeks when pain bent me over outside an operating room. At first I denied it. Doctors are excellent at ignoring their own bodies. Dr. Klein found me gripping a counter. "Elena," she said, "do not make me diagnose stubbornness as your primary condition. I have 20 minutes before rounds. You have 2 babies trying to leave." She was right. Maya arrived breathless from the train station. My mother was on a flight. Nora called from her office and said, "Do not sign anything without reading it, including hospital bracelets. Because lawyers show panic differently." Labor was not poetic, it was bright lights, fear, monitors, pain, and the strange humiliation of being unable to control the body I had forced through everything else. My daughter came first, small, furious, alive. My son came 4 minutes later, quieter, then louder, as if he had reconsidered. I named them Iris and Noah. I gave them my last name, Voss. When the nurse asked about the father's information, my chest tightened. "Not listed at this time," I said. There was no drama, no thunderclap, just a form, a pen, and the legal weight of absence. Iris spent 12 days in the NICU, Noah spent 16. Those days changed me more than betrayal had. Betrayal had cut away illusion. Motherhood cut away hesitation. I learned that love was not a speech made in front of guests. It was waking every 2 hours to pump milk for babies too small to latch. It was signing medical forms with hands that still shook. It was returning to fellowship interviews with milk stains under a blazer because I refused to disappear from my own future. Adrian sent one email when the twins were 6 weeks old. Elena, I hope enough time has passed for us to be civil. I am sorry for the way things happened. Celeste and I are trying to move forward and I hope you are too. I think continued distance is still best for everyone. I read it at 3:42 a.m., while Noah slept against my chest and Iris screamed because she hated socks. Continued distance is still best for everyone. I forwarded it to Nora. Then I fed my daughter. Years do not heal all wounds. That is a lie told by people who want time to do the work they refuse to do themselves. I healed because I made choices. I stopped checking Adrian's name. I stopped explaining his absence to myself in generous language. I stopped wondering whether he would have stayed if he had known about the twins. That question was a trap. It made his love hypothetical and my pain negotiable. He had known me, he had left, that was enough. By the twins' second birthday, I could carry both of them up 3 flights of stairs with a grocery bag hanging from my wrist. I could perform a 6-hour surgery and still make it home for bedtime. I could answer Mommy, why no Daddy, without bleeding where they could see. Some families are built differently. I told Iris one night as she pressed a stuffed rabbit to my face, ours is built with me, you Noah, Grandma, Aunt Maya, and too many bananas. She accepted this, Noah did not. And dinosaurs. I agreed. Work sharpened me, motherhood grounded me, pain eventually became information. Dr. Klein began assigning me to complex thoracic and abdominal tumor cases. I developed a reputation for calm under pressure, not warm, not charming, calm. People mistook calm for cold until something went wrong then. They prayed for it. In my 3rd year at Hopkins, I stood in an operating room at midnight while a patient crashed on the table. The fellow beside me froze. The anesthesiologist raised his voice. The monitor screamed. I heard Adrian's voice from years earlier. You are detached. No, I was focused. Clamp, I said. No one moved fast enough. I held out my hand. Clamp now. We saved the patient. The next morning Dr. Klein found me reviewing the post-op scans. You are ready, she said. For what? For the cases that come with ghosts. I did not understand then. I did 3 weeks later. The chart landed in my inbox under an urgent review request from a regional hospital. Male patient, 36, aggressive mediastinal sarcoma with cardiac involvement. Prior teams declined surgery. Prognosis poor without high-risk resection. Attached scans, attached labs, attached name, Adrian Hale. For a full minute I did not breathe, then my pager went off. Life, rude as ever, kept going. I read Adrian's chart 3 times before I let myself feel anything. The tumor was real, rare, invasive, cruel. It wrapped itself near the right atrium and pressed into structures that did not forgive mistakes. Chemotherapy had failed to shrink it enough. Radiation was too risky at its current location. Without surgery he had months. With surgery, he had a chance but not a clean one. The first hospital had declined, the second had recommended palliative care, the third had sent the case to Hopkins, to my team, to me. I closed the file and went straight to Dr. Klein. She listened without interruption as I explained the history. Former fiancé, engagement ended publicly, no contact for 3 years, shared children he did not know about, legal documentation, potential conflict. When I finished, she did not look shocked. Surgeons see the body's secrets. Nothing human surprises them for long. Can you operate? She asked. That was not the same as asking whether I wanted to. I can. Should you? I looked through the glass wall of her office at the hospital corridor. Beyond, residents moved fast, nurses carried medication trays. Somewhere a family was receiving news that would split their lives into before and after. He deserves informed consent and an unbiased team, I said. The hospital deserves transparency. I will submit a conflict disclosure to ethics. If they assign another surgeon, I will transfer the case. And medically, I am the best person on this service for this tumor. Dr. Klein nodded. Then we do this properly. Ethics reviewed the case. That afternoon, legal was notified. Adrian was informed that one of the surgeons evaluating his case had a prior personal relationship with him. He had the right to request another attending. He requested to see me. Of course he did. Room 918 was at the end of a quiet hall with a view of the city. I stood outside for 5 seconds longer than necessary, not because I was afraid of him, but because I wanted to honor the woman who had once cried in a car with a pregnancy test in her hand. She had survived. I owed her steadiness. I entered with Dr. Patel, the cardiothoracic attending assigned to co-lead, and a nurse named Joanne. Adrian was thinner. That was the first thing I noticed, and I hated that I noticed it. Illness had carved away the arrogance from his face but not the bones beneath it. His hair was shorter, his skin had the grey undertone of someone whose body had been fighting too long, and 4-line ran into his arm. Monitors turned his heartbeat into sound. He looked toward the door with the impatience of a man used to important people arriving. Then he saw me, his face emptied. Elena. My name in his mouth felt like a door opening in a house I had burned down. Mr. Hale, I said. He flinched. Dr. Patel introduced himself and began explaining the review process. Adrian did not look at him. His eyes stayed on my white coat. Elena Voss, MD, Surgical Oncology. You are a doctor here, he said. Yes. His gaze dropped to my ID badge, then back to my face. They said Hopkins. I did not think. I did not know. No, I said. You did not. Dr. Patel cleared his throat. Mr. Hale, your case is complex. Dr. Voss has specific experience with tumors involving the mediastinum and cardiac structures. Because of your prior relationship, we have disclosed the conflict. You may request another surgeon. Adrian laughed once. It broke into a cough. There are others. There are surgeons, Dr. Patel said carefully. There are not many with Dr. Voss's exact case volume. Adrian closed his eyes for a moment. He was not the man from the dinner. He was a patient hearing the shape of his mortality. Then he opened his eyes and the past returned with him. Elena, can we talk alone? No. The answer came so quickly that Joanne looked down to hide her reaction. Adrian's jaw tightened in a familiar way. Please, this is a medical consultation. Dr. Patel stays. Nurse Joanne stays. If you need personal counsel, your attorney can contact mine. My attorney? Yes. Color rose weakly in his face. After 3 years, that is what I am to you. I looked at the monitor. His heart rate had increased. You are a patient with a high-risk tumor, I said. That is what matters in this room. His expression shifted. Pain, anger, disbelief, maybe shame. He had expected coldness, but he had not expected boundaries this clean. Dr. Patel explained the surgery. Risks, bleeding, stroke, heart failure, incomplete resection, death. Adrian listened, but his eyes kept returning to me, as if he was trying to reconcile the woman he had left with the surgeon discussing his survival. When Dr. Patel asked if he had questions, Adrian said, "Would you let her operate on someone you loved?" Dr. Patel did not hesitate. Yes. Adrian swallowed. Then he looked at me. Would you let yourself operate on me? There it was, the real question under the medical one. Could I cut into the man who had cut me open emotionally and still try to save him? I held his gaze. Yes. His eyes filled, not enough to spill. Adrian had always hated public weakness. Why? Because I am good at my job. He looked away. First, after the consultation, I turned to leave. Elena, he said. I stopped. I am sorry. 3 years ago, those words would have been a weapon. They would have opened every locked room inside me. I would have searched his face for proof, for regret big enough to cover the damage. Now they sounded small. Your consent forms will be brought in later today, I said. He stared at me. That is all. That is all for now. Outside the room, I pressed my hand against the wall. Joanne paused beside me. You okay? Yes, it was true, not painless. But true. At 6:20 p.m. while I reviewed Adrian's scans again, my phone buzzed with a video call. Iris and Noah. I answered. 2 faces filled the screen. Iris had marker on her cheek. Noah wore a dinosaur pajama top and a pirate hat. Mommy, Iris demanded. Aunt Maya says broccoli makes bones strong. Is that a law? No, I said, but it is evidence-based advice. Noah leaned close. Are you fixing hearts? Something near one. Do not drop it, he said seriously. I will try not to. I laughed for a moment. The hospital fell away. I did not know Adrian's door was open. I did not know he had heard. I only realized when I ended the call and turned to see him standing unsteadily in the hallway, one hand gripping his 4-pole. His face was no longer pale. It was devastated. Elena, he whispered. Do you have children? I looked at the nurse moving toward him in alarm. Then I looked at the man who had signed himself out of my life. Yes, I said. His lips parted. How old? I did not answer. He took one step toward me and almost fell. Joanne caught his arm. How old? He asked again, voice cracking. I walked toward him, close enough that he could hear me without the entire hallway listening. Go back to your room, I said. You are not stable. His eyes searched my face. They are mine, he said, not a question, a realization arriving 3 years late. I said nothing. That silence did more damage than any speech could have. Marjorie Hale arrived the next morning wearing pearls, fury, and a perfume strong enough to violate Hospital policy. She swept into Adrian's room as if illness were a staff error she intended to correct. I want another surgeon, she announced before removing her gloves. Adrian was sitting upright, oxygen tubing under his nose, eyes fixed on the window. He had not slept much, neither had I. Dr. Patel folded his arms. Mrs. Hale, your son is free to request a transfer of care. I am requesting it. He is the patient. Her mouth tightened. He is not in a position to understand the conflict here. Adrian turned slowly. I understand it. Marjorie looked at him, then at me. For the first time in 3 years we were in the same room. She had aged, but not softened. Elena, she said, making my name sound like an accusation. Of all the hospitals in the country, cancer rarely asks for family permission. I replied. Dr. Patel coughed once. Marjorie ignored him. This is inappropriate. You expect me to believe you can be objective. No, I said, I expect the ethics committee, the surgical board and your sons signed consent to determine that. Her eyes flashed. She was used to people bending under the Hale name, hospitals, donors, boards, committees, but Hopkins did not belong to her, neither did I. I know what humiliation can do to women, she said. Do you? Adrian closed his eyes. Marjorie stepped closer. If you have any professionalism, you will remove yourself. I handed her a printed list of alternative centers. These institutions may review the case. The first 2 already declined surgical intervention. The third estimated review time at 4 to 6 weeks, based on current progression. Waiting carries significant risk. Her hand froze around the paper. For all her cruelty, Marjorie loved her son, possessively, imperfectly, but enough to understand time when it threatened him. You are saying he has no choice. I am saying the choices are limited by disease, not by me. Adrian spoke quietly. Mother, stop. She turned on him. You cannot seriously want this. He looked at me. No, he said, I do not want this, but I need it. The room went silent. Need, how strange that word sounded from him. 3 years ago, Celeste had needed him, his mother had needed dignity, his family had needed my disappearance. Everyone's needs had mattered except mine. Now his life depended on a woman he had dismissed as too ambitious to love. I explained the surgical plan again, not for Marjorie's comfort, but because informed consent required repetition. Adrian listened carefully this time. He asked intelligent questions. Fear had burned away some of his arrogance. Marjorie asked, what is his survival rate? Dr. Patel gave a measured answer. She hated measured answers. When the medical discussion ended, Adrian waited until Dr. Patel stepped into the hall to answer a page. Elena, he said, about the children. Marjorie's head snapped toward him. What children? I did not look at her. This is not the time. What children? Marjorie demanded. Adrian's voice was hoarse. I heard them call her mommy. The air changed. Marjorie stared at me with a kind of shock that quickly tried to become blame. You had children? Yes, Adrian whispered. Twins. Marjorie gripped the bed rail. A person can reveal herself in the first sentence after shock. Marjorie's was, how could you keep Hale children from us? Not were you alone, not were they healthy, not, what did my son do? Hale children, possession before concern. My spine went cold. They are Voss children, I said. Adrian flinched. Marjorie recovered quickly. If they are Adrian's, that is not your decision alone. No, I said, the court would agree, which is why any future discussion will go through counsel. You planned this, she hissed. You waited until he was vulnerable. I laughed once. I did not mean to. It escaped. Mrs. Hale, your son came into my hospital with a tumor. I did not invite him. Her face reddened. Adrian said, Mother, no, she let you suffer for 3 years without knowing you had children. I turned to him then. Would you like to tell her about the no-contact agreement? Marjorie looked confused. Adrian went very still. The what? I opened the folder I had brought because I had known this moment would come. Nora had trained me well. Prepare, do not react. I removed a copy of the agreement Adrian had signed 3 years earlier. No personal contact except through counsel, I said. No shared obligations going forward. Mutual release from future expectations. Signed by Adrian Hale, witnessed by his attorney. Marjorie reached for it. I did not hand it to her. This is not for you. Adrian's face twisted. I did not know you were pregnant. No, I said. You knew you wanted distance. His throat moved. You could have told me through a lawyer. I could have, and then what? You were building a future with Celeste. Your last email said continued distance was best for everyone. I was high risk, alone, and advised to protect my medical stability. I chose survival. The word landed between us: survival, not revenge, not punishment, survival. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue, but the monitor betrayed him. His heart rate climbed. The nurse stepped in. "That is enough for now," she said. Marjorie looked ready to fight the nurse too, but Adrian leaned back, suddenly grey. His body ended what his pride would not. I left the room before anyone could turn the conversation into a trial. In the hallway, Dr. Patel gave me a look. "You want off the case?" I looked through the glass at Adrian, who was staring down at his own hands like they belonged to someone else. "No," I said. "You are allowed to." "I know, then why stay?" "Because I had once loved him. Because I no longer loved him enough to hate him. Because the children deserved a mother who did not confuse pain with ethics. Because I had spent 3 years becoming someone who did not run from hard rooms." I said only, "The tumor is still operable." That evening, Nora came to the hospital with a leather folder and the expression she used when preparing to ruin someone politely. "We met in a conference room. You knew they would pivot to custody," she said. "I hoped they might ask if the children were okay first." Nora snorted. That was optimistic. She laid out the documents: pregnancy records, birth certificates, the no-contact agreement, Adrian's emails, my preserved messages, financial statements from the broken engagement, a legal memo outlining that I had not concealed paternity for financial gain, had not sought support, had maintained records, and had followed counsel during a high-risk pregnancy after the father requested distance in writing. "If they want a legal relationship, they can petition for one," Nora said. "But they do not get to storm your life because guilt arrived late." Through the conference room window, I saw Marjorie walking down the hall on her phone. Her posture was rigid. "She will try to make me the villain." "Let her," Nora said. "Villains usually talk too much." My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Celeste, I heard about Adrian. I hope you are not using this situation to settle old pain. He is fragile." I stared at it, then I showed Nora. Her smile was small and dangerous. "Excellent," she said. "She still thinks texts disappear." Adrian asked to see me alone again. I refused again. This time he accepted the nurse, Dr. Patel, and a hospital social worker in the room. Illness was teaching him what love had failed to teach. Access could be denied. He looked worse that morning. Pain had sharpened the angles of his face. Still, when I entered, his eyes found mine with painful focus. "What are their names?" he asked. "Noah and Iris." He closed his eyes. "Noah," he repeated. "Iris," he said their names carefully like he was afraid they would break. I did not soften. "They are 2 years old," I said. "Almost 3. They like pancakes, dinosaurs, yellow rain boots, and arguing over the same blue cup when there are 4 identical cups in the cabinet." A sound left him, half laugh, half sob. "Do they know about me?" "They know families come in different shapes." "That is not an answer. It is the only answer you have earned." The social worker shifted slightly but did not interrupt. Adrian swallowed. "I was wrong. Yes, I was cruel. Yes, I was a coward." I looked at him. "Yes." He took it. "That surprised me more than the apology." "I thought you would come back," he said. There it was, honest at last. "I know. I thought if I gave it time, if I let things calm down, you would call. You always fix things. Elena, even when I ruined them." I said nothing. His eyes filled. "Celeste said you needed to learn that love was not control. My mother said if I let you go cleanly, you would realize what you lost." I told myself I was being kind. Kindness does not need an audience. He flinched. I continued. "You did not end our engagement privately. You did it in front of people who had already decided I deserved it. You let Celeste sit beside you. You let your mother insult me. Then you signed a document asking for distance. I did not know about the babies." "No, you knew about me." That silenced him because that was the center of it. The children made his regret larger, but they were not the original crime. He had abandoned me before he knew what he was abandoning. He had judged the woman, not the pregnancy. The woman mattered too. He pressed a hand to his chest, breathing through pain. "I want to see them." "No." His head snapped up. "Not ever. Not like this. Not because you are sick. Not because guilt is loud. Not because your mother discovered the word grandchildren and wants to weaponize it." His mouth tightened. "They are my children. They are children," I said. "Not evidence, not redemption, not medicine." The room went quiet. The social worker finally spoke. "Dr. Voss is correct that any introduction should be planned carefully, especially given the medical circumstances and the children's age." Adrian looked at her like she had spoken another language, then he looked back at me. If I die, the words landed heavily. I had thought them, of course I had. Every surgeon thinks of death before cutting. Every mother thinks of consequences before allowing danger near her children. If you die, I said, they will be told the truth in a way they can survive. His face crumpled. I did not reach for him. Compassion did not require contact. Later that day, Marjorie attempted a different strategy. She arrived with a lawyer. Nora was already there. I loved Nora for many reasons. But that day I loved her most for wearing a red suit to a hospital legal meeting like she had dressed for battle and brunch. Marjorie's lawyer began with family rights. Nora began with signed waiver of personal contact. He mentioned paternity, she mentioned timing, he mentioned moral obligation. She slid copies of Adrian's messages across the table. Please respect my boundaries as I build a future that feels honest. Continued distance is still best for everyone. I do not think reopening communication would help either of us. Marjorie read them in silence for the first time. She had no immediate reply. Nora leaned forward. If Mr. Hale wishes to establish paternity and pursue a child-centered legal relationship, he may do so through proper channels after medical stabilization, but any attempt to harass Dr. Voss, appear at her home, contact the children's school, or use the Hale Foundation to pressure her will result in immediate legal action. Marjorie's nostrils flared. You speak as if we are criminals. I speak as if you are people accustomed to doors opening, Nora said. This one does not. I looked down to hide a smile. After the meeting, I found Adrian sitting in the hospital chapel. He was not religious. Neither was I. Hospitals make exceptions out of people. He sat in the back row with a blanket around his shoulders, for Paul beside him, head bowed. I should have walked away. Instead I stepped inside, not close, just inside. He did not look up. I used to think you were cold because you did not need me, he said. I stood in the aisle. Then I thought Celeste was warm because she did. His laugh was bitter. She needed my name. My mother needed a daughter-in-law she could shape. My father needed me calm. The foundation needed a story. Everyone needed something. And I did not. He looked up. I held his gaze. I needed respect, partnership, privacy, protection in a room where people were humiliating me. You gave those things to someone else. I know. No, I said quietly. You are beginning to know. He covered his face with one hand. I do not know how to live with this. That is not my responsibility anymore. The words were not cruel, they were clean. He lowered his hand. Did you hate me? I thought about it. In pieces, I said, not enough to organize my life around it. That seemed to hurt him more than hatred would have. Good. Hatred would have kept him important. He was no longer important enough. The next morning, he signed the surgical consent. His hand shook. Before he gave the pen back, he looked at me. If I wake up, I will do this properly. Court counsel. Whatever you decide is safe for them. For them, I said. Not for you. He nodded. For them. It was the first decent sentence he had given me in 3 years. I accepted it as information, not transformation. The morning of surgery, I woke before my alarm for 10 seconds. I was not in Baltimore. I was back in the car outside the Hale Club, cold air in my lungs, 2 pink lines in my hand. Then Noah kicked my bedroom door. Mommy, he shouted. Iris put cereal in my shoe. Life has a way of refusing melodrama. I got up, removed cereal from the shoe, negotiated peace over waffles, and braided Iris's hair while she sang a song about a shark who wanted a library card. Maya arrived at 6 to take over. She watched me pack my bag. You okay? Yes, you are about to operate on the man who detonated your life. I am aware, and if I wanted him dead, I would have stayed at dinner. Maya stared at me, then she laughed so hard she had to sit down. That laugh carried me all the way to the hospital. Before scrubbing in, I completed one final ethics note. I documented the conflict, the patient's informed consent, the presence of co-surgeon oversight, and the medical necessity of proceeding. Paperwork felt cold to outsiders. To me, it was a fence around chaos. Adrian was already in pre-op when I arrived. No family in the room, his choice, the nurse told me. He looked small under the surgical blanket. Power leaves the body quickly in a hospital gown. I reviewed the procedure one last time. He listened. When I asked if he had questions, he said, if something happens, Nora has a letter for the children. She said she would only give it to you if you decide it is appropriate. I nodded. That was better than asking me to promise. He hesitated. Elena, yes, I am scared. For once he did not dress the truth in dignity. I know, you are not. I am always scared before a surgery that matters. His eyes searched mine. What do you do with it? I let it make me precise. The anesthesiologist entered. The moment narrowed. Adrian looked at me as they prepared to wheel him back. I do not deserve your hands saving me. No, I said, but my hands do not work by deserving. His eyes closed. We took him in. The operating room was bright, cold and honest. No perfumes, no family history, no champagne, no Celeste with wet eyes, no Marjorie measuring my worth, just anatomy, tumor, vessels, risk, time. I scrubbed until my skin burned. Dr. Patel stood across from me. Dr. Klein observed from the gallery, though she pretended she was there only because the case was surgically interesting. The first incision was clean. That mattered. In surgery, hesitation can kill faster than anger. We opened the chest. The tumor was exactly as ugly as the scans promised. It had insinuated itself against vital structures like it owned them. Removing it required patience, arrogance, humility, and the ability to decide quickly which risks were acceptable. Hours passed in fragments. Clamp, suction, hold pressure. Again, the room grew smaller until my entire world became the field in front of me. At our 4, bleeding surged. The fellow stiffened. The monitor changed tone. Dr. Patel's voice sharpened. We are losing visualization. I felt everyone waiting for my reaction. Once Adrian had called me detached, now detachment kept him alive. Pack, I said. Suction left. Patel, I need exposure. Do not pull. Lift. The bleeding slowed, then revealed its source, a fragile branch near the atrial wall. Clamp. No one moved fast enough. I extended my hand without looking away. Clamp now. Metal touched my glove. We controlled it. Someone exhaled behind me, not me. I did not have room for relief yet. At R7, the tumor came free, not perfectly. Cancer rarely grants perfect victories, but enough. More than anyone else had offered him. We reconstructed, closed, stabilized. When we stepped away, my shoulders burned. Dr. Patel looked at me over his mask. Good work. I nodded. In the scrub room, I leaned both hands on the sink and watched water run pink from my fingers. Not his blood, a patient's blood. That distinction mattered. Dr. Klein entered quietly. You did not tremble, not externally. She smiled a little. That is the only kind the room cares about. I removed my cap. My hair was damp at the temples. He has a chance, I said. Yes, not certainty. No, I nodded. A chance was all surgery could give. The rest belonged to biology, recovery, and whatever Adrian chose to do with borrowed time. Marjorie was waiting in the family room with Adrian's father, 2 cousins, and a lawyer who looked like he regretted his career. Celeste was not there. I delivered the update with Dr. Patel. The surgery was complete. He was in ICU, critical but stable. The next 24 hours mattered. Marjorie covered her mouth for one raw second. She was only a mother. Thank you, she whispered. I accepted the words with a nod. Then her gaze shifted and the old Marjorie returned, weaker but alive. When can we see him? The nurse answered. I walked away. In the ICU, Adrian lay surrounded by machines, intubated, pale, alive. I checked his drains, labs, vitals. I adjusted orders. I spoke to the ICU team. Professional actions, necessary actions. Before I left, I stood beside the bed for one moment. This man had once been the center of my imagined future. Now he was a patient in a room I would leave. I felt sadness, not longing. That difference was freedom. My phone buzzed. Maya sent a photo. Iris and Noah asleep on the couch, one blanket over both of them. Cereal still visible near Noah's shoe. Caption, your tiny dictators are alive. How is yours? I looked at Adrian, then typed back, also alive. 3 days later, he woke. His first word was water. His second was Elena. I was not in the room. That too mattered. Celeste returned on the 4th day. After surgery, she came dressed for sympathy, soft cream coat, loose curls, no visible jewelry except a delicate cross necklace I suspected she had bought for the occasion. She carried flowers the ICU would not allow inside and wore the expression of a woman prepared to be photographed grieving. I saw her at the nurse's station trying to charm Joanne. I am basically family, Celeste said. Joanne, who had survived surgeons, drunk relatives, and hospital administrators, did not blink. Immediate family only. During this window, Celeste's smile tightened. Adrian would want me there. Mr. Hale is awake enough to list approved visitors. Your name is not on it. I nearly respected Adrian for that. Nearly. Celeste turned and saw me. For a moment the mask slipped. Fear, calculation, anger, then softness returned. Elena, she said. I was hoping we could speak. No. Her eyes widened slightly. People like Celeste rely on others being too polite to refuse the opening line. I know there is history. Yes. And pain. Yes. But Adrian is fragile right now. Whatever happened between you two, I hope you will not use his condition to punish him. There it was again, the accusation dressed as concern. I looked at her. Flowers. You should leave. Her cheeks flushed. I loved him too. No, I said. You loved being chosen. The words hit. Celeste stepped closer, lowering her voice. You have no idea what I went through. I know exactly what you showed me. A woman sitting beside my fiancé while he ended our engagement. Her eyes hardened. He was unhappy with you. Long before me. Then he should have ended it before inviting an audience. She looked around, aware of staff nearby. You are still so cold. I smiled. That word has done a lot of work for people who wanted me quiet. Celeste's fingers tightened around the flower stems. You think saving him makes you superior? No. Leaving did. I walked past her. By noon an anonymous post appeared online. It spread first through medical gossip accounts, then local society pages. Prominent foundation heir treated by ex-fiancé surgeon after secret pregnancy scandal. The post was careful. It did not name the hospital directly, but it gave enough details for anyone in Adrian's world to understand. It suggested I had hidden his children, inserted myself into his care, and now held power over a dying man. By 2 o'clock hospital communications was involved. By 3 Nora was in my office. By 3:15 Nora had identified the likely source. Celeste, I asked, or someone close enough to her to use her exact phrasing. She showed me a screenshot using his condition to settle old pain, the same words Celeste had texted. Nora's eyes gleamed. Some people hand you the knife and complain about being cut. The hospital opened a review, which I had expected. I handed over my ethics disclosure, Adrian's signed consent, co-surgeon notes, and all communication boundaries. Dr. Patel submitted his statement. Dr. Klein submitted hers. The ICU team documented that I had not used personal access outside medical necessity. Facts moved slower than rumor, but they moved with weight. Marjorie called a family meeting in a hospital conference room without inviting me. Nora invited herself. I came because the accusation involved my children. Adrian was not strong enough to attend, but he joined by video from his bed. He looked exhausted, a surgical drain still in place, but his eyes were clear. Marjorie began with outrage. This family is being humiliated. Nora opened her folder. I agree, let us discuss by whom. Marjorie glared. The family lawyer tried to control the room. Nora let him speak for 4 minutes, then she placed the no-contact agreement on the table. This is the document Mr. Hale signed after ending his engagement to Dr. Voss. She placed the emails beside it. This is Mr. Hale requesting continued distance. Then the screenshots. These are messages establishing that Dr. Voss did not seek money, contact, public sympathy, or Hale family resources. Then financial records. These show wedding and renovation costs paid by Dr. Voss that were never reimbursed. Marjorie's face tightened. Adrian stared at the screen. He had not seen those records. I knew it from his expression. Nora continued. And this is the audio from the engagement dinner. The room went still. Marjorie said. That is private. Nora smiled. It was a room of 37 people. Privacy left before my client did. She pressed play. Adrian's recorded voice filled the conference room. I cannot marry someone I no longer recognize. Marjorie's voice followed. Many women would have dragged this family into a marriage for the name alone. Celeste's soft performance came next. I never wanted to hurt anyone. The recording played for less than 4 minutes. It was enough. Adrian closed his eyes on the screen. Marjorie sat rigid, color draining from her face. Nora stopped the audio. My client was publicly humiliated, legally cut off, medically high risk, and explicitly asked to maintain distance. She built a life without seeking a dollar from this family. If anyone attempts to frame her as an opportunist again, we will respond publicly with documents. The family lawyer said. That sounds like a threat. No, Nora said. It is a preview. I had barely spoken. That was the beautiful part. Evidence had a voice. After the meeting, Adrian requested to see me. I went because he was still my patient. He looked like a man who had just watched his past become undeniable. I did not know about the money, he said. It was easier for you not to know. My mother told me she handled the house. She handled opinions, I handled invoices. He winced. Elena, I waited. I remember that night differently, he said. Or I did. I told myself you were cold, that you walked out because pride mattered more than love. I said nothing. But listening to it, his voice broke. I sounded cruel. You were cruel. He nodded slowly. And you were pregnant. Yes. His eyes filled again. This time one tear escaped. I left you pregnant. I corrected him because precision mattered. You left me before you knew. I was pregnant, that is worse in a different way. He stared at me, I continued. You cannot make the children the reason you regret it. They are not a moral shortcut. You have to regret what you did to me when I was simply me. His mouth opened, but no words came. Good. Some truths deserved silence after them. Adrian's recovery was not smooth. Bodies rarely care about emotional revelations. He developed a post-operative infection that delayed transfer from ICU. His blood pressure dipped twice. Pain made him short-tempered, then ashamed of being short-tempered. He apologized to nurses. That was new. I managed his care as part of the team but reduced unnecessary direct contact, not to punish him, to protect the line between patient and past. Then Marjorie crossed it. Nora called me at 7:08 a.m. She filed an emergency petition. I was packing Iris's lunch. What kind? Grandparent access and preservation of paternal relationship. Wrapped in language about Adrian's medical uncertainty, my hand tightened. Around a banana. He is in ICU. Yes, which makes this look both dramatic and manipulative. Noah wandered into the kitchen wearing 2 different socks. Mommy, why are your eyebrows angry? I forced my face to soften. Grown-up paperwork, bad paperwork, annoying paperwork. He nodded with deep understanding. I hate paperwork. You cannot read. I still hate it. I kissed his forehead and called Maya. By noon I was in a courthouse conference room with Nora, Marjorie, her lawyer, and a judge who looked profoundly uninterested in wealthy family theatrics. Adrian joined by video again. He looked shocked. That mattered. He had not known. Marjorie had filed without telling him. Her lawyer argued that the children had a right to know their paternal family, especially given Adrian's life-threatening illness. Nora agreed with the principle and dismantled the method. She presented the no-contact agreement, the emails, the medical records establishing high-risk pregnancy, my lack of financial claim, the absence of any attempt by Adrian to maintain contact with me for 3 years. The timing of Marjorie's petition immediately after social embarrassment. Then Nora said, Dr. Voss is not refusing a child-centered legal process, she is refusing an ambush. The judge looked at Marjorie. Mrs. Hale, have you met these children? No, Your Honor. Have you had any prior relationship with them? No, but that is because their mother concealed them. The judge glanced at the documents. The father signed a no-contact agreement and later requested continued distance. Marjorie's lips thinned. The judge continued, this court is not a tool for emotional correction. If Mr. Hale wishes to establish paternity and pursue appropriate contact after medical stabilization, he may do so. There will be no emergency access granted to grandparents who have never met the children. Marjorie looked as if someone had slapped her. I felt nothing dramatic, just a door staying closed. Afterward, Adrian asked me to wait outside the courthouse conference room. He was on video, still in his hospital bed, but Nora set her tablet on the table between us. I did not authorize that, he said. I know. How? Because it helped your mother more than the children. He looked down. She has always done this, turned fear into control. Yes, I let her do it to you. Yes, he breathed carefully. I want to establish paternity properly. Not to take them, not to punish you, to be accountable. My chest tightened despite myself. Accountability would have been useful 3 years earlier. Now it was a late train arriving at a station I no longer used. Nora will send terms. I said, Elena, can I ask one thing that is not legal? You can ask, I may not answer. He nodded. Did they ever ask about me? The question was soft, dangerous. I could have lied. I did not. Iris asked why some people have dads at school pickup and she does not. Noah asked if a father is like a spare mom. I told them some people leave before they learn how to stay. Adrian closed his eyes. His pain was visible. I let him have it. Then he whispered, I am sorry. I know. Do you believe me? I believe you are sorry now. He opened his eyes. The difference landed. Sorry after consequences is not worthless. But it is not the same as character. When I returned to the hospital, Dr. Klein was waiting outside my office. You look like you argued with money and won. I argued with entitlement. Money was present. She smiled, then her expression softened. You are carrying many rooms at once. I sat behind my desk. Mother, surgeon, ex-fiancé, legal defendant in a family fantasy. You do not have to carry them all with the same hands. I do not know how to put any down. Dr. Klein leaned against the door. You put them down by naming which one is needed. In the OR, you are surgeon, at home mother with that family witness. Do not become their defendant unless a court makes you one. I held on to that, witness not defendant. That evening Adrian asked the nurse for paper. He wrote 2 letters, one to Iris, one to Noah. He gave them to Nora, not me. That was the first time he did not try to use emotion to reach me directly. Progress perhaps, but progress did not erase damage. 2 days later, lab results improved, the infection responded, Adrian moved from ICU to step down. Marjorie sent a written apology through counsel. It was terrible. Nora sent it back with notes. I laughed for the first time in days. The hospital ethics hearing took place on a rainy Thursday. By then, the anonymous post had spread far enough that Hopkins could not ignore it, even though the medical facts were clean. Donors called, reporters requested comment. Someone leaked that Adrian Hale was the patient. Someone else hinted that a surgeon with personal motives had controlled access to him. Hospitals fear scandal almost as much as infection. So we gathered in a conference room with grey walls, bad coffee, and enough legal tension to power the building. Present were hospital council, ethics board members, Dr. Patel, Dr. Klein, the ICU director, me, Nora, Adrian by video, Marjorie, the Hale family lawyer, and Celeste Wren. Celeste had been invited because her messages were part of the evidence chain. She wore black this time, a mourning color. Though no one was dead, the ethics chair began with formal language. Conflict disclosure, patient consent, surgical necessity, professional boundaries, allegations of retaliatory conduct. I listened without reacting, then I gave my timeline. Engagement ended on May 18, 3 years earlier. No contact agreement signed May 23. Hopkins fellowship acceptance dated May 16. Not disclosed to Adrian due to separation. Pregnancy confirmed May 18. Further evaluated May 25. High-risk twin pregnancy managed in Baltimore. No request for financial support. No direct contact initiated. Adrian's case referred to Hopkins by outside hospital. Conflict disclosed immediately. Patient offered alternative care. Patient signed informed consent. Co-surgeon present. Post-operative management documented. I spoke for 19 minutes. Facts are not dramatic when arranged properly. That is their power. Dr. Patel confirmed the surgical indications. Dr. Klein confirmed my competence and disclosure. The ICU director confirmed access logs. Then Nora presented the communications. Celeste's text to me. I hope you are not using this situation to settle old pain. The anonymous post. Using his condition to settle old pain. The room noticed the repetition. Celeste's face remained smooth, but her hands moved in her lap. Nora then presented messages obtained through Adrian's family legal review. Celeste had texted Marjorie after being denied ICU access. If Elena controls the medical story, she controls Adrian. People should know the truth before she rewrites everything. Another message. The children change the foundation optics. We need to move first. Adrian stared at the screen. Marjorie looked ill. Celeste said, that is being taken out of context. Nora smiled. Then please provide the context in which accusing a surgeon of medical revenge during a patient's recovery is appropriate. Celeste said nothing. The ethics chair asked Adrian if he felt pressured to accept me as surgeon. His video feed flickered for 1 second, then steadied. No, he said. His voice was weak but clear. Were you aware of the prior relationship? Yes. Were you offered alternatives? Yes. Did Dr. Voss behave in any way that suggested retaliation? Adrian closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, he looked at me. No, she saved my life. The room went quiet. He continued. I ended our engagement cruelly. I asked for distance. Afterward, I did not know she was pregnant because I made myself unreachable. Whatever personal guilt I feel now, it has nothing to do with her conduct as my surgeon. Marjorie whispered. Adrian. He did not stop. My family has tried to turn my regret into a case against her. That is wrong. Celeste looked at him with sharp disbelief. He turned his face toward her image on the screen. And Celeste has used my illness to protect her position with the foundation. That is also wrong. Celeste's mask cracked. After everything I did for you, Adrian laughed. And it turned into a cough. You left when the prognosis was bad. I was giving your family space. You asked my lawyer about trust distribution before asking whether I woke up. No one moved. Celeste went pale. There it was. Not my revenge, his recognition. The ethics board found no misconduct. The hospital issued a limited internal clearance. Legal prepared a public statement addressing professional standards without exposing private medical details. The Hale Foundation Board, however, began its own review. Celeste had been listed as a special advisor. Marjorie had pushed for it. Adrian's illness and the public scandal made donors nervous. Her messages made them furious. By evening, Celeste's access to foundation accounts was suspended. Marjorie's influence over patient advocacy grants was frozen pending review. The empire did not collapse. Real life rarely gives that kind of fireworks, but it cracked where they had leaned hardest. After the hearing, I walked toward the elevator with Nora behind us. Someone called my name Adrian. He had insisted on being brought down in a wheelchair against everyone's advice. A nurse stood behind him looking annoyed enough to sedate him by attitude alone. Elena, he said. I stopped. The hallway was full. Doctors, nurses, legal staff, Marjorie, Celeste, board members. Too many witnesses, a familiar shape, public room, public reckoning. Adrian pushed himself upright with shaking arms. Do not, I said. He did anyway. He slipped from the wheelchair to his knees, the nurse swore. Under her breath, Marjorie gasped. Celeste stared. Adrian looked up at me, pale and trembling, one hand pressed against his healing chest. I am sorry, he said. For the dinner, for Celeste, for my mother, for signing you out of my life and calling it kindness, for leaving you alone with our children, for making you carry what I should have protected. I am sorry. The hallway was silent. 3 years ago, a room had watched him discard me. Now a room watched him beg. I looked down at the man I once thought I would marry. There was a time when this would have healed something. Now it only confirmed that the wound had closed without him. Get back in the chair, I said. His face broke. Elena, you are tearing your incision. The nurse moved immediately, so did Dr. Patel. Adrian let them lift him, tears on his face. I waited until he was seated, then I handed him a folder Nora had prepared. What is this? He asked. A supervised visitation framework. After paternity is legally established after your oncologist clears you medically, after a child therapist advises us on timing. He stared at the folder. You are allowing me to see them. I am allowing them the possibility of knowing the truth safely. His breath shook. And us. The hallway held its breath. I thought of white roses, a gold cake, a ring beside a fork, 2 newborns in incubators, my name on my badge, my children laughing over cereal in a shoe. There is no us, I said. This time everyone heard me. Adrian recovered slowly. Cancer had taken his certainty. Surgery had taken his strength. Truth had taken the story he used to survive himself. What remained was a man I might have loved in another life if he had become him earlier. But timing matters, so does damage. He began physical therapy with grim determination. He followed instructions. He stopped letting Marjorie speak for him. When she tried, he asked her to leave the room. The first time I witnessed it, she looked as shocked as if a chair had insulted her. Elena should not be making decisions about the children alone, Marjorie said one afternoon. Adrian was sitting in a recliner, pale but upright. Elena made decisions alone because I left her alone, he said. Marjorie pressed her lips together. She could have told us. He looked at his mother. You called her a social climber in front of our friends. That was not what I meant. It was what you said. Marjorie's face tightened with old pride. I was protecting you. No, he said. You were protecting the version of me that obeyed you. I stood near the door reviewing labs, pretending not to hear, but I heard. So did Marjorie. She looked smaller when she left. Not defeated. People like Marjorie are not defeated in one scene, but diminished. Celeste attempted one final performance. She came to Adrian's room with tears, claiming she had been misunderstood, manipulated by fear, overwhelmed by his illness. She said she had loved him through everything. Adrian listened quietly, then he asked, "What are Noah and Iris's names?" Celeste blinked. "What?" "My children, you spoke publicly about them. What are their names?" Her silence answered. He nodded. "You loved proximity, not me. Elena poisoned you against me." "No," he said. "Elena stopped explaining you for me." Celeste's face hardened. "You think she will take you back?" "No." "Then what was all of this for?" Adrian looked toward the window. "For finally being honest when it no longer benefits me." Celeste left without tears. Her foundation position ended the next week quietly because wealthy families prefer quiet consequences. But the donors knew, the board knew, Celeste knew. Marjorie's apology arrived in a revised letter. This one did not mention misunderstanding. It said, "I humiliated you publicly. I dismissed your work, your dignity, and your place in Adrian's life. I spoke of children I had never met as if they were family property. I was wrong." Nora called it less terrible. I called it filed. Adrian asked to give me something before discharge. I almost refused, then agreed to meet in a small hospital consultation room with Nora present. He handed me an envelope. No pressure to read it now, he said quickly, or ever. What is it? A reimbursement check for the house deposits, wedding costs, renovation payments, with interest. Nora reviewed the amount. Nora nodded once. I opened the envelope not because I trusted him but because I trusted her. The number was accurate. I should have paid it years ago, he said. Yes, I also set up separate education accounts for Iris and Noah. No control from my mother, no conditions. Nora has the terms, you can reject them, I will review them. He nodded. I know money does not fix it, no, but unpaid debt keeps a door open, this closes one. His eyes lowered. I have been thinking about the night of the dinner, so have I, for different reasons. He accepted that. I thought choosing Celeste made me brave, like I was finally being honest about what I wanted. And now, I think I chose the person who made me feel needed over the person who expected me to be decent. That was painfully accurate. I said nothing. He looked at me. Can I ask one selfish question? You usually do. A faint smile crossed his face then vanished. Did you ever love me after that night? The answer was not simple but it was clear. I loved the version of you I had already lost. I said, then I loved my children more, then I learned to love my life without making room for your absence. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, he did not ask again. Discharge day came with too many flowers and not enough humility from the Hale relatives. Adrian refused a wheelchair until the nurse threatened to document him as non-compliant. Then he sat. I passed him in the hallway by chance, wearing scrubs, carrying a stack of charts. He looked at me as if memorizing the fact that I was not stopping. Elena, I paused. I will follow the framework. Good. I will not contact the children outside it. Good. I will not contact you personally unless it concerns their safety or the legal process. Good. The repetition made him smile sadly. You sound like Nora. Thank you. He laughed once then winced at the elevator. He turned back. I hope they are proud of you someday. I thought of Iris holding a toy stethoscope to Noah's forehead and announcing he had too many thoughts. I thought of Noah telling his preschool teacher that mommy fixes things inside people. I thought of the lives I had protected by refusing to collapse. They already are, I said. His face changed. Then the elevator doors closed between us that night after the twins fell asleep. I sat at my kitchen table with the reimbursement check, the education account documents, and the supervised visitation proposal. Maya poured wine into one glass and tea into mine because I had an early surgery. Are you okay? She asked. I looked around my apartment. There were crayons on the floor, tiny shoes by the door, medical journals on the counter, a dinosaur sticker on my laptop, and sunlight-colored cereal dust in places cereal should never reach. Yes, I said, and I was not because everything was fixed, because everything was mine. 6 months after Adrian's surgery, my name went on a door. Elena Voss, MD, Surgical Oncology Director, Complex Thoracic Tumor Program. It was not a large office, the window stuck in humid weather, the bottom drawer jammed if pulled too fast. Iris immediately taped a drawing of 3 stick figures and 1 lopsided dinosaur to the wall. Who is the dinosaur? I asked. Noah, she said. Noah objected. I am the big doctor. You are the dinosaur doctor. Iris corrected. He considered this and accepted the promotion. Dr. Klein stood in the doorway watching them. They run a strict department, she said. Terrifying leadership style. She smiled. You earned this, Elena. I looked at the name on the door. There were years inside those letters: blood, milk, court filings, surgical notes, sleepless nights, silent drives, tiny socks, tumors removed, documents saved, boundaries drawn. I know, I said. That was another victory, not saying thank you as if someone had granted me permission to become myself, knowing I had earned it. Adrian's cancer did not vanish. Cancer is not a villain defeated by a speech. He entered ongoing treatment. Scans became the calendar by which he measured hope. Some were good, some were uncertain. He followed the legal framework. That surprised me at first. Communication went through Nora and the child therapist, then came letters approved by professionals, simple ones, no guilt, no dramatic confessions. Dear Iris and Noah, my name is Adrian. I knew your mother a long time ago. I made mistakes that hurt her. I am learning how to be honest about that. I hear you like dinosaurs and pancakes. I also like pancakes. Noah was suspicious. He likes pancakes because everyone likes pancakes, he said. That is not special. Iris asked. Did he leave because he was bad? I sat on the floor with them, both children leaning against me. He made bad choices, I said. People are more than one choice, but choices matter. Will he take us? Noah asked. My heart clenched. No, I said firmly. No one takes you from me. That mattered more than any legal phrase. Months passed before the first supervised meeting. It took place in a child therapist's playroom with bright rugs and shelves of toys. I stayed behind the observation glass, visible if the children looked for me. They did often. Adrian entered slowly. He had gained some weight back, though illness still marked him. He looked nervous in a way I had never seen before, not performing, nervous. Iris studied him. Noah hid halfway behind the therapist. Adrian crouched carefully, mindful of his healing body. "Hi," he said. "I am Adrian." Noah frowned. "We know." Adrian nodded solemnly. "That was not my best opening." Iris held up a plastic stegosaurus. "Do you know this one?" Adrian looked helplessly at the therapist. Noah sighed. "He does not know anything." Behind the glass I covered my mouth. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. No miracles happened, no instant family formed. The children did not run into his arms. He did not earn what time had not built, but he listened. When Iris corrected his dinosaur pronunciation, he accepted it. When Noah asked why he had not come before, Adrian looked toward the glass, then back at my son. "Because I made mistakes and stayed away when I should have learned how to be better," he said. "That was not your fault." The therapist nodded slightly. I exhaled, not forgiveness, not reunion, but a safer truth than silence. Afterward, Adrian did not approach me. He sent one message through the legal parenting app: "Thank you for letting them have the truth at their pace." I replied 3 days later, "Keep it that way." He did. The Hale family adjusted badly. Marjorie struggled with boundaries like a cat placed in water. She sent gifts too expensive for children who preferred cardboard boxes. The therapist rejected most of them. Nora returned the rest. Eventually, Marjorie learned to send books. Progress can be humiliating. That does not make it less useful. The foundation restructured after donor pressure. Marjorie lost her informal control over several committees. Celeste disappeared from their public life, then reappeared months later attached to another donor circle in another city. People like Celeste do not transform, they relocate. Adrian sold the house we were supposed to share. He sent Nora the final reimbursement from the sale. I used part of it to pay off childcare debt, part to fund the twins' accounts, and part to take them to the ocean. On the beach, Iris screamed every time the water touched her feet, then demanded it return. Noah built a sand hospital for injured shells. "Mommy," Iris said, "were you sad before us?" I looked at the water. Children ask questions like surgeons make incisions, directly, without malice, sometimes exactly where the scar is. "Yes," I said. "Are you sad now?" I thought carefully. "Sometimes, but not the same way." Noah placed a broken shell in my palm. "You fixed." I closed my fingers around it. "No," I said, "I grew differently." He nodded as if that made perfect sense. Maybe it did. A year after Adrian arrived in room 918, I received an envelope at my office, no return address, but I knew his handwriting. Inside was one page. "Elena, I used to think regret should be rewarded if it was sincere enough. I understand now that some doors stay closed not because the person outside is hated, but because the person inside is finally safe. You saved my life. You did not owe me that. You protected our children from my guilt. You did owe them that, and you did it well. I will spend whatever time I have becoming someone they can know without being harmed by me. I know you will never come back. I am finally not asking Adrian." I read it once, then I placed it in the legal file, not the memory box. That distinction mattered. The memory box held Iris's hospital bracelet, Noah's first drawing, my Hopkins acceptance email printed and folded, the tiny socks they had worn in the NICU, and a photo Maya took the day we came home. Adrian belonged in records, the children belonged in memory. I belonged in neither. I was still being written. On a clear Monday morning I performed a surgery that made the hospital newsletter: complex tumor, long odds, good outcome. Reporters wanted a quote. The communications team asked whether I wanted to mention resilience. I said, "Mention preparation." They laughed, thinking I was joking. I was not. That evening I picked up the twins from preschool. Iris ran to me with paint on both hands. Noah carried a paper crown he insisted was medically necessary. "Mommy," he said, "I am the king of bones." "That sounds dangerous." "I am a nice king." Iris grabbed my hand. "Are you coming to pancake night?" I would not miss it. We walked home under a sky turning gold at the edges. My phone buzzed once, a legal app notification about the next supervised visit. I read it, acknowledged it, and put the phone away. That was my life now, not free from the past, free from being ruled by it. At home, the twins argued over blueberries. Maya arrived with groceries. My mother called on video and said my kitchen looked like a cheerful crime scene. I signed school forms, reviewed scans after bedtime, and fell asleep on the couch with a medical journal on my chest. Ordinary, beautifully ordinary. 3 years earlier, Adrian Hale had ended our engagement in public because he thought I would always remain a woman waiting to be chosen. He was wrong. I chose the children, I chose the career he called cold, I chose the truth over the story his family preferred, I chose to save his life without returning to it, I chose a locked door, a signed boundary, a nameplate, a home full of noise, and a future that did not need his permission. The next morning, I arrived at Hopkins before sunrise. The corridor lights hummed softly. My reflection moved beside me in the dark glass, white coat, steady hands, my own name stitched over my heart. Outside my office I paused, Elena Voss, MD. I touched the nameplate once, then I opened the door and stepped inside, not back, forward.